assignment in March of 1978. I went down to a program called Fighter Lead-In Training, which was conducted at Holloman Air Force Base, flying AT-38s, a slightly weaponized version of the T-38. It could carry practice bombs. It had a kind of a primitive gun sight welded up on top of the dashboard. Lots of fun doing that for a couple of months, and then reported to Luke Air Force Base in Phoenix to learn to fly the F-15. And of course,
Right.
back then it was the A model.
Yeah.
Uh, Luke
That was
was quite a production. Go ahead, your question.
that was triple nickel, right? 55,
Yeah,
54.
my training squadron was the triple nickel of
Yeah.
Vietnam fame.
And the lead-in training on the AT-38, is that the same as what they call now basic fighter maneuvers or BFM? Or
Well,
is
you
that
do
or is
learn.
that something else?
I think they still call it fighter lead-in training. Uh,
Fighter lead-in training. Okay.
yeah, FLIT,
Yeah.
I think is what they call it, or just fighter lead-in. And they still use AT-38s, although at some point they're going to be using the T-7, which is
And
going
that
to
is
be.
basically a training to use the airplane as a weapon, basically to
Yeah,
shoot the aim.
you started flying tactical formation. 1 mile abreast.
Yeah.
We how to do tactical turns. We all got to spend some time on the range, dropping practice bombs. We did some very basic air-to-air training, BFM,
Yeah.
a very basic level. But the idea was to get us ready for Luke Air Force Base or wherever else we were headed to fly fighters.
Yeah. Did you like the T-38, the AT-38? Did you like
Oh,
flying it?
I love flying the
Yeah.
T-38. I love flying it in pilot training. I love flying it in FLIT. Yeah,
Okay.
I wish I had one. Great,
Yeah,
great little airplane.
yeah. Pretty tricky, I believe, on base to final. What I read
Tricky in
about
the
it.
tricky in the pattern. Very,
Yeah.
you're always very, very close to stalling.
Yeah.
It's a very critical that you maintain the correct angle of attack on final and in the final turn, and
Right.
it's bitten a lot of people.
So now you're at Luke, triple nickel, RTU or OCU, how you call that?
RTU they called it then,
Yeah.
replacement training. I
Yeah.
noticed you sent me some photographs from Luke back in those days.
Yeah.
You'll notice that a lot of the aircraft are still painted that light blue color, air superiority blue. That was the original paint scheme for the F-15. The
Which I
thinking
think
being that it would
awesome
be
color.
hard to see from a
Right.
distance
Yeah.
for an air-to-air fighter. But in actual practice, you could see the blue airplanes pretty far away. They popped up visibly. Uh, and at the time I went through RTU, they were starting to paint the fleet gray, a light gray color, which was
Yeah.
much more effective. So about half the airplanes I flew were still blue, half were gray. Uh,
Okay. Yeah.
but that's just a matter of, might be interesting to some people.
And the early A models, they still had that small speed brake. Did you were they all equipped?
Some of our aircraft had the small speed brakes. Some of them had the big one. They were
Okay.
again. We're kind of in the middle of modifying the airplanes at that time.
All right. All right. Oh, sorry, continue. Yeah.
Uh, Luke was interesting to me. We did not know where we were going to go. When I got the F-15 assignment, it was originally said I was slated for Bitburg down in Germany, which is, a big wing with 3 squadrons. And we were all
Hmm.
excited about that because as a kid, I had lived in Germany. And when my wife and I were first married, we lived in Germany. So I've lived in Germany twice, widely
Right.
separated at different times. So we were excited about that. But when we got to Luke, they said there had been a change in the schedule, and that what we were about to hear is classified. It's not ready for public release. But instead of going to Bitburg, we were going to be going to a Dutch air base called Soesterberg, and they had not announced yet that that base was going to change to F-15, so we couldn't talk about it.
Hmm.
And it was just a matter of timing and scheduling. Uh, so there were fellows that were originally assigned to go to Soesterberg before us. They had instead now to go to Bitburg, and we, who were going to go to Bitburg, were now going to go to Soesterberg because of some 3 month slip or something in the schedule. Anyway, shortly after that, it was okay to talk about it, and we were all pretty excited about going to Soesterberg. My graduation class from Luke Air Force Base. There's six of us standing in front of an F-15A on the ramp, black and white photo. Four of
Yeah.
us are wearing 30-second TFS patches on our suits, and the other two fellows are wearing USAFE patches. They were the ones going to Bitburg.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that was my graduating class.
Yeah.
6 months of that, and I wanted to bring up another interesting point too. When you're an experienced fighter pilot coming from the F4 or whatever, when you get selected to fly the F-15, or today, I suppose, if you're an F-15E pilot, you get selected to fly the F-35, say, the training course you go to is going to be a very, very short one. You're only going to get about 10 to 12 rides in the airplane,
All
and
right.
then you're going to because you already know all that stuff.
Yeah.
You just have to learn the systems and how to work the radar and whatnot. So when we had been at Luke Air Force Base for about 3 months, the F4 pilots from Soesterberg, who had been selected to go to the F-15, came and joined us. They
Yeah.
were there for the short course. We were finishing up the long course. So at this point, we all got to train together with the guys we were going to be flying with when we got to Soesterberg. And I thought, that's a great scheme. I hope everybody else gets to train that way. It was good for me. It was good for all of us. Uh, we were originally supposed to get, after graduating from RTU at Luke, we were supposed to get an additional month or so of top off training to get us combat ready for NATO.
Hmm.
That was supposed to happen at Luke, but for some, again, scheduling reason, I don't know exactly the details behind it, we had to go to Langley Air Force Base instead to get that training. So we went out to Langley Air Force Base in the winter of 1978.
Hmm.
Uh, I was there for a month and a half or so, 12 or so flights in the F 15. Now we had all of our brand new airplanes straight from the factory with CR tails that were
Yeah.
eventually to be ferried over to Soesterberg. So we got now to fly the airplanes we were actually going to fly for the next 3 years. That was a lot of fun. And of course, at Langley, the flying we were doing was out over water off
Yeah.
the East Coast.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun too. And that was good training for Sisterberg because so much of our flying was up over the North Sea, as you know.
Yeah.
That was the training drill. Couple of months in fighter lead-in training, 6 months in F-15 training, and then you get to Soesterberg, as I did, and the other four fellows. And now we had to qualify as combat ready. That's a local flight, uh, and and then we spent the next 3 years learning how to be good fighter pilots.